Well, I really want to thank NASBA for giving us the motivation to get this project done. This is something that there's been a lot of speculation about. We know that many students don't, many jurisdictions don't specify what goes into those 150 credits, right? You know there's an undergraduate degree, and we know there has to be some accounting, some general education, some general business kinds of things, but there's not a lot of specification. And so a lot of people are saying, well, what's the use of those extra 30 credits? Is that just a barrier to entry to the profession? And so, and then of course you have the folks who want to specify down to the credit hour what the kids should be taking. And so we thought this was kind of an important topic, and I really want to thank NASBA for motivating us to do this. I also want to thank Karen and her team for the process. I think they did a good job of reviewing proposals. All right, so first a little background. We know that while there are underlying commonalities, there's a lot of variety in state requirements for licensure. Most undergraduate degrees come out with about 120 semester credit hours. And that's usually, for a Bachelor of Science degree, that's a combination of accounting courses, general education, and stuff in the business disciplines. In a Bachelor of Arts degree, which would come from like a private four-year school or that kind of thing, there's probably not quite as much business or accounting in that degree. They get more of a liberal education, usually foreign language, a lot more liberal arts in their degree. And as I said earlier, most jurisdictions don't specify those additional 30 credits. So the hypothesis is that students use irrelevant, easy coursework to meet that 150-hour requirement. So what did we do? Well, we hand-gathered data from transcripts from a time period that was really relevant in Minnesota. It was our changeover to the 150-hour requirement. Now, in Minnesota, you can sit for the exam with 120 credits, but you can't be licensed or certified until you have the 150. We find that most of the recruiters won't hire people who don't have 150 unless they're really high flyers. They figure it's too big of a risk, and it's hard to give them the extra time they need early in their career to finish those extra credits. So essentially, the students do need 150 credits when they leave school. So we looked at transcripts, and we also have something called a graduation report that was printed for these students, and it indicates the semester that the student was admitted to the major. Now that's important, as you'll see in just a minute. And so we had 444 of these transcripts that we looked at from a 5-year period. We looked at the transcripts and classified the credits above the 120 in 3 categories. Relevant, that means they were in business, or they were in accounting, or they were in one of the core competencies identified from the AICPA. Those core competencies were things like marketing, which or a client focus. Some schools have things, ours does in particular, has a mass communications kind of department that is not in the business school. We thought that related to the broad business perspective. The idea of a global perspective we counted as relevant. Things like study abroad programs in foreign languages. Decision modeling, that kind of thing, we counted math courses as being relevant. Then there are the irrelevant courses, and that's the proverbial underwater basket weaving. Occasionally you'll find the student that will fill in the extra 30 credits by taking every 101 on the books, right? Something that's easy and not particularly useful for them other than achieving 150 credits. Then we also had a category we call unintentional credits. This is particularly relevant for schools like mine. These are four-year schools that have a high number of transfer students or students who return to school after stopping out. These would be classes that they took prior to being admitted to the accounting major. So they may have had another major, first of all. They may be returning for the credits they need to be eligible to sit for the CPA exam. They could be people who changed their mind. They could be people who transferred. They ran out of money at the private school, they transferred to our school. Or they might have started a different kind of degree at a two-year school and transferred to the four-year school. So we counted those as unintentional credits. And those again would be credits that they took before they were declared an accounting major. Most accounting majors come in their junior year. The first 2 years are general education and that kind of thing. All right, so what did we find? Well, we found, first of all, that 75% of those 444 students had brought in transfer credits. And that's really a high number. Now, and it wasn't only like advanced placement, or some states like Minnesota has something called post-secondary educational opportunities, where you can take some college courses while you're in high school and have them count towards your high school graduation and toward college. You can't take that many credits for that kind of thing. And so we feel like this really, the 34 credits of transfer credits really represent students who maybe started on another track or took courses that didn't transfer smoothly to our school. So 75% of the students had these, what really could be called extra credits. Of the students, of these students, 444, 70% had 150 credits or more at the time of graduation. They only needed 120 to graduate, but 70% of them had 150 or more. 45% of those with the 150 had either another major or a minor. That's pretty relevant. I think that would serve them well. It would give them a deeper understanding of the accounting, in my opinion. And those with 150 credits or more averaged 24 unintentional credits, in other words, extra credits that they transferred in that were taken before they entered their accounting major. They also averaged 3 irrelevant credits. Now, what do I think that is? Well, I think they had 147 credits with their unintentional and with their minor, and then they decided, oh, I'll just take something. Now, what are the implications of this? First of all, students meeting the 150-hour requirement, and I wouldn't make this a generalization to all schools, but certainly at state schools like mine, comprehensive universities that accept a lot of transfer students, I think most students are meeting the 150-hour requirement with unintentional credits, extra credits that they have. They aren't choosing the easy, irrelevant courses for the most part. They may do that to meet the last 3 credits, but they're not doing that to take 30 credits of easy junk. And finally, if we were to specify more specifically what's required, it's going to add additional costs to students who do transfer, who have these unintentional credits, because they're not going to fill the little buckets that we assign for ethics or research or other particular courses that we want. Now, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. It costs a lot to have a great profession like being a CPA. But I think we need to, for legislatures, it could be viewed as fencing, it could be viewed as elitist, which in Minnesota, let me tell you, is the kiss of death on any legislation. So that's the result of our project, and I'll answer questions in a little bit.